Let's start our first tune. This is All Through the Night, a lovely Welsh lullaby, which I still play all the time, and which is actually the last cut on my Christmas CD. I'm going to put my thumb on C, index finger number 2 on B, and the third finger, the long finger, on A. Thumbs are up, fingers are down. There's a reason we do this. In fact, if I ever do anything which you don't see the reason for, email me and ask me why, because I will always, or at least if I don't, I will find an answer. And the reason we do our thumb above the fingers on the harp is that we need to attach rows of notes or clumps of notes to each other, especially when we're playing scales, and we do that by swinging our fingers under the thumb. If you have ever played the piano, you know that on piano, when you're doing scales, you bring the fingers over the thumb. Similarly, we swing the fingers under the thumb. So the thumb has to be enough above the fingers that it can do that comfortably so you don't bump into it on the way. You want to avoid, at least for now, these extreme hand positions because we talked earlier before about the tension that creates. But at the same time, you want to be articulate enough with your hand shape and your fingers to do what you need to do. So the thumb does need to be above the fingers. Otherwise, you're going to paint yourself in a corner, and later on there will be a lot of things that you will have difficulty doing. This is not to say this is the only way to play. There are lots of techniques, and we will eventually get to many and many of them. Back to the tune. We're going to put the thumb on C and then B, A. 1, 2, 3, right in a row going down the hill. And we're going to start with that thumb and then pluck the index finger, allowing it to fall into the palm. Now, before I play that 3 finger on A, I want to replace my thumb and index finger but one note above where they were before. So now my thumb is on D and my index finger is on C. Now I'm going to play that 3 finger and then the index. Now I'm going to put 2 and 3 back on right down the hill, right in a row adjacent to my thumb. I'm going to start with the thumb coming down the hill. But before I play that the long finger, I'm going to place the ring finger on G. That means I'm skipping a note, and I've got the distance of a third between the long finger and the ring finger from B to G. But before I play that G, I'm going to place all my fingers back on right in a row, coming up the hill, and then up the hill, 3. I play the 2 finger, and I play it again, and then close the lid of the box with a thumb. Let me do that again. Thumb, index, those 2 go up the hill 1 note. Play the 3 finger on A, 2 on C. Replace 2 and 3 on C and B, come down the hill. And before I run out of fingers, I grab the 4th finger on G. Before I play that G with the 4th finger, I replace all my fingers. Play the G, then 3, 2 twice. Here it is again. Extra credit. If you want to practice this little element now, you can. Otherwise, you can wait till later. This is from my days, many years of playing the metal strung harp, the classic, and then later the Latin American harp. The classic, the metal strung harp, rings so much. It's like an electric guitar. You can play 1 note and it lasts all day. You can go have a beer and a sandwich, come back, and it's still ringing. Similarly, on this harp, there is ring, but a lot of nylon players don't tend to think about the after ring of the notes as much as someone who has to, like on the metal strung. And when you have an adjacent string being plucked, especially this minor second, that is the small step between the B and the C, that creates, in a subtle way, a less stable, some might say harsh, tone combination. And if that's not what you want to hear, then you need to have some way of dealing with that. So I tend to have built into my technique the idea of damping out the penultimate note often of what I do, especially when they're close like this. So those last two notes, what I do is I put the index finger back on just as I play the C, but not with the intention of plucking it. I just touch the string and then come off. I, however, am very careful to put it on the string as I play the C. Otherwise, I damp the note ahead of time, and you hear that discontinuity where the ring of the instrument is stopped. I'll do that. Here's that. So that little as you hear the ring of the instrument stop. Throughout what we do, we want to disguise that. So you don't hear the damping unless you intend to hear the damping. And I'll talk a lot more about that later. It's a great tool. Damping is. It's a powerful rhythmic tool as well as a way of cleaning up your arrangements. But that's later. So now you can add that touching out of the string, as I call it, if you wish. If not, that's all right. Here's the tune again. And I'm going to add a bottom hand to it. And that would repeat. When you play these simple tunes, don't ever think, oh, exercise tune, simple tune, Mary Had a Little Lamb. I play tunes I love. I still love this tune. I'm still moved by it every time I play it, unless I'm totally absent-minded. But more or less, I love what I play. And you want to play with that engagement with the tune every time you play. Don't ever just play like it were chewing gum. Keep it alive.